Hey, everybody. Welcome to Grain Therapy, the woodworking podcast where we discuss our passions, methods, and personal growth as we build our woodworking businesses. This is a big one, folks. It's the 2023 year in review. This podcast was shot directly at the new year, the first week of the year. And we discuss the podcast launch and reflect on the last year as a whole. You'll hear details about every project we worked on in 2023 and get a sense of how we see 2024 going for our businesses. This podcast can be found anywhere you like to listen. If you find value in it, please leave us a comment or review. In addition to following the podcast, find us at Bossman's Boutique and at Whiskey Woodshop to see our projects from start to finish. So sit back and watch, listen while you work, or put us on in the background. Either way, we hope you enjoy. How you doing, Brian?
Good. How are you?
Good. What do you got? What are you drinking?
Today, Fresca.
Hey, look at that. Coke. Happy
Nice.
January.
What a change.
Mine doesn't even have whiskey in it today. Just doing dry January.
Yeah, I'm doing got invited to do this event with one of my buddies. We're trying to kind of deprive ourselves of a few things that we think are like we're a little bit not dependent on, but something that we know we should get rid of, and we're just trying to do it all the way through March and just see
through March. That's
what happens.
Way more effective probably than just January.
Yeah, just paying attention to it, but I'll definitely be having a drink back on here when the time is right.
When those come back on. So are you going all the way through March without them?
We'll see. I kind of just see if it makes a difference or not. So I'm kind of gonna monitor it after January and see how I feel.
It's funny because I wasn't gonna do a drink, right? Because I'm doing dry January, just doing it with my wife and a couple friends. And I was just gonna do water tonight because I didn't sleep well last night. And I was like, I don't want to have caffeine this late. And then 10 minutes before the podcast just now, I was like, I need something. Like I feel like I need something other than water, which is if you don't have alcohol, you choose another drug, which right now is caffeine for me, apparently.
But it's how it goes. Yeah.
Whatever. I'm here to have some fun with my Diet Coke.
Yeah, keep slowly switching. And now I drink these. I really like these things called Poppy. Have you seen it from like Costco? It's like a apple cider vinegar drink. They're good.
They're energy drinks?
They're not energy drinks. It's an apple cider vinegar thing. It's just supposedly better for gut health. Who knows how much it's actually doing, but it feels like the next step after Diet Pop, which yeah, so I know we've talked about Mountain Dew on here, so you're a pop guy too.
A little bit. Yeah, I know Diet Pop isn't great. I know pop in general isn't great, but sure tastes good. So
yeah,
gotta have a little treat every once in a while. So we launched the podcast yesterday.
That's right. Yeah, and for listeners, we're here in January. This is the first time we're recording in the new year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we haven't recorded in 3-4 weeks, I think. We've been doing a lot of the background work. We got a little backlog of episodes going just to make sure we were in a good spot, comfortable. Mm-hmm. We knew what we were doing. And then we launched yesterday. So we launched 5 episodes all in one day. A little intense.
Yep. Not under exaggeration.
Mm-hmm. Very intense, but I'm glad we did all 5 at once because now there's just a set people can go look at rather than, there's only one episode. I'm not going to watch that and then never give us a second look. So,
right. Yeah. Give them a chance to binge if they're ready to do that and just kind of get to know our personalities a little bit more than just the clips that are on the social medias right now.
So what was it scarier for you launching the clips or the episodes?
I don't think I had. That's a good question. I wasn't having very much fear launching the episodes.
Same.
But I think and the clips weren't so bad if I could separate from feeling like, oh, now I'm just marketing and like trying to get people to the channel or once it was just like, no, this is just, we're getting out there and just really focus on, we're just trying to actualize the goal of what this all is. Right. So it's just a step. And if you can separate that emotion from it, it's a little bit easier, but I was more nervous for the clips because it's like, oh, now it's real. I'm rushing to kind of try to get these all out at the same time today. And How are
Well,
you
and
feeling?
yeah, just to add on to that, like the clips are freaky because like I'm scared to be taken out of context. I say some dumb stuff sometimes, right?
Yeah.
So that's literally what we're doing is taking ourselves out of context and throwing it up for unlimited amount of people to see,
Mm-hmm.
to try to get them to see the whole thing. So when I'm posting the clip, I'm just trying to say like, whatever, I let the clip speak for itself. And then people are shoved with, they have so much stuff in front of them. They'll forget about whatever, like
Yeah.
no one cares about this clip as much as I do. Right.
That's right.
So like, and I barely care about that clip. So like they move so fast, people watch them, they move on, they forget what you said. No one's getting hooked. Uh, and it's not like we went viral in a day anyway, which I'm glad we didn't. Like I didn't want anything to happen. I was a little like, let's just slow burn this thing. Let's
Very
focus on
slow.
the content and do it for ourselves still.
Mm-hmm.
And then it'll be comfortable. So I'm just trying to post and ghost, kind of let it do its thing, speak for itself. If they want to watch the podcast, they can. I'm not trying to add too much extra with the clip either. It's just, hey, here's part of it that I think is interesting and might pull people in. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to stick my mind in on that part where it's just one little blurb of the whole big thing. That's why it's not scary to post the episode, because it's like if you listen to the whole episode, you can't be too mad because then you get to know me
Right.
and you can understand where I'm like.
And
It's
like you
not out
said,
of context. Like if you listen to any one podcast for long enough, you're going to be neutral about it at worst. Like you can't hate them that much, right? Because you get to know them and you know their personality and where they're actually coming from. So
get to, yeah. And like you said, context is super important. And then like just getting to know how we think about things, right? I think is really important when you reduce it down to a clip. It's even easier if you don't know how the person thinks. It's not even just context, but you start to build that relationship, whether it's conscious or unconscious or personal or impersonal. And
yep.
so just more we get out there, the easier this is going to be, the more people are going to care. And
And the more comfortable we'll get to. Like we're already way more comfortable recording these than we were 4 months ago or whenever we started. So that I'll share a funny story. Last night, Cal, my wife, was listening to the first episode, and she had told me that she was going to listen. I was like, okay, fine. I just don't want to hear about it. You can listen. Don't give me like hardcore feedback or anything. Like whatever, because that's me. You know me so well. She's my wife, right? So she knows me the best. But like this is me on a podcast trying to like entertain a little bit, make sense, have a conversation about something that I like a lot, but she doesn't have a lot of experience in with woodworking. And anyway, so I knew she was listening to it. Later in the night, we were playing this game. I was like, oh, do you want to throw on some music or something? She's like, okay. Takes out her phone. She goes to start playing some music, and my voice pops up. Just talking stupid about some woodworking stuff, like me, and nobody likes the sound of their own voice. So I was like, I hate that. Turn it off. Like, and it's not that I hate what I was saying or it was just like as soon as she turned her phone on, I'm right there just ranting away about something. And I was like, oh, that's painful, but hopefully that gets a little more bearable.
It's a weird experience. Yeah, for sure.
Yep. And then I was scrolling through shorts before bed last night, and I'm subscribed to us. Like my normal account is subscribed to us. So of course we popped up and I was like, no, hey, hello. It's me. So it's just weird.
Yep. Had that experience a couple times today too, just kind of checking in and seeing how things are doing. And then, you mentioned we feel a lot more comfortable. And it's funny, I was just reflecting on that right now. I can tell in my voice I sound comfortable, but I gotta be honest, my traps are they're
Right
real
now?
tight. Just still ball
You guys
anxiety.
just like let your arms hang. Just kind of try to chill it out. No, I do that too. And I try not to move because my chair makes sound. So I find myself just sitting still for an hour and then I get antsy and stiff.
Yeah.
So
it's good, man. That's where the growth has to happen.
Yeah. We're getting used to it. It's good. So So the first podcast of the new year.
Yeah, so I was going to try to transition there with you. It's perfect timing. Yeah, so just we hope to share kind of today just how the year went. And yeah, I don't know if you have any funny things you want to start with, or I can start.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think from the first off, I've got notes here. Bear with me. Yeah, I think I really want to. Actually, I'm gonna hand it back to you and say you start. But I will
Okay.
say what I'm gonna start with is just kind of talk about some of the firsts that my business got this year. But
Sure.
I haven't quite figured out how I want to relay them.
Okay. I'll just go basic calendar just to give people some background.
Sure.
So we're talking 2023 here. Whiskey Woodshop in 2023 was in its second year of business. And I had a couple jobs quoted coming into the new year last year. So in January, I had some jobs I was supposed to do. So I hadn't received money for yet. So they look really good on my when I look at my financials for the year. But I had gotten them locked in. I did all the work the year before to like quote them and everything. So those were for breweries. So I did 4 jobs for breweries. A couple different breweries in the Twin Cities. So I worked through those through January, February, March. There was a merchandise display. There were 100 tap handles, easy tap handles, I might add. We'll come back to that in a minute. And a little corner cabinet thing for some wires, some Wi-Fi routing thing, like just to hide them in a brewery, just make it look nicer. So there's like these little odd jobs, and that was all got. I got all those jobs through email outreach, and we've talked about all that in the past. So check out a different episode if you want to know how I spam emails or used to all these different businesses. And the reason I'll try to give you the core reason for why I did each things as I go through. So this is kind of Q1. I was doing work for the breweries. And the reason for that was I needed money. So I just built out my shop the year before, so 2022. I took on a bunch of debt. And by a bunch, I mean a couple grand, like $3,000 worth. Building out the shop, getting some tools, getting all set up, just a bunch of material too. Like I had some material lying around. I got my laptop for the business. I got the photo booth stuff. I was just like accumulating stuff. So I needed to get business to try to pay for that debt because that business credit card was going to get debt, or it was going to get interest by January of this year. So right now, so by 2023, I needed to have all that business debt gone. And we're talking small potatoes here. It's like $3,000. So that's not, again, side thing. I have an engineering job, but I'm trying to build this up, make a base for anybody who's new here. So that's what I was doing in Q1 of 2023, pounding out all these brewery jobs and quoting a lot. I was looking back. In December, I did kind of a list of every quote, how much it was, who it was for, like residential, commercial. If I got it, and then I could kind of see, okay, I didn't get anything above this number. And so it was kind of interesting because I quoted 22. I think I sent 22 quotes last year.
Okay.
And all those have models, like CAD models and everything. And so 22 different ones. And the ones that worked ended up having revisions and stuff. So it's a lot more time in there. But anyway, then I wanted to get away from the brewery stuff, and I wanted to really focus on furniture because that's what I'm trying to do here. So this whole time, the theme of the year was trying to balance getting money to pay off the debt and keep the business moving and just get work so I can feel successful, and building furniture that sells, that I want to build, that gets me excited, that is beautiful and functional, and is ultimately the end goal of the career of the business that I would want to move to someday. So I built my first cabinet, and I started drawing that in 2022. Thinking about it, working on it, took inspiration on Instagram, and ended up making that for a show. And I showed it at a show in March or April, at the Minnesota Woodworkers Guild show in Minnesota here. Spent a lot of time there, and there I was thinking, okay, this is my first prototype, so I'm going to get feedback from people. And there were a lot of people that went through the mall, and they were looking at the cabinet, feeling it, using it, telling. And I was asking a lot of good questions. I was kind of doing like marketing VOC which is voice of customer. And that's a work term that I'm used to saying at work all day.
Okay.
VOC, so voice of customer.
Yeah.
Trying to get what do you think? How would you use this? What would you change? What would you use it for? And so I got some good feedback on the cabinet, and I was like, okay, good. I can make adjustments to this, but let's sell this one as a prototype.
Yeah.
And then I want to figure out how to batch these out, make jigs. So I was working on the designs for the jigs and everything. And I was just bouncing around trying to get money at the same time. So I wasn't putting enough focus on how to actually sell this.
Mm-hmm.
And if anybody wants it, right? I built the bar cabinet, and that's a very specific niche. I still like it. It's a fun niche because they're all drinkers, right? So I still hope to have that niche as one of my keys. I want to get more expertise in that and make these big pieces that, because it's fun, because people will go crazy with a bar cabinet. It's kind of like a statement in their home. Like, it can be artsy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of why I like it. Like a dining table, people might want it more neutral, more standard, because that's just what they use every day. But so that's kind of why I went there in the first place. And I think I still like that. But there's been a lot of opinion change throughout the year, which we can get to that on the back half when we get into more of the whys on all these things.
Sure.
So,
by the way,
oh, go ahead.
Do you remember? That's where I met you. It was at that show.
Yeah. So we had, we hadn't met in person yet, had we? Right. So we were texting through that group chat. Yeah. And then you had come by.
Yeah. I had to come see what you're working on. Yeah. What you're displaying.
Yeah, I forgot about that, actually. So
it's pretty cool.
So you were one of the folks around the show. I didn't win anything at the show. I'm not bitter about it. But and everybody at the show, all the Woodworkers Guild members told me I was a cheater for using a CNC. So hobbyist versus trying to make it full time. I just got to keep reminding myself. Different perspective.
Different perspective.
Yeah, we can move past that. I don't know. I don't want to stick on that too long. But after March or April, when I showed off that cabinet at the show, brought it home, and it sat until September. So I'll come back to that. Then I was quoting and getting not much. I honestly don't really remember what I was doing in May at all. I think I was doing a lot of marketing type stuff, like trying to market this thing. So I made some brochures for these cabinets, which we've talked about in detail with the different options I'm trying to sell. And I sent 100 of them to newly purchased houses.
That's right.
And the hope was, if you're buying a new house and it's over X, you can A, afford it, and B, you have a place to put it. Because a lot of people I was talking to, they didn't have a spot for a bar cabinet. They filled their house years ago when they bought it. So I'm like, okay, we got to get to the new homeowners. How do I get to them? Whatever. So I ended up getting one response off that, which fell to be a dud. I did 2 quotes through that lead, and we never landed that one. But in reality, he wanted trim work. So makes sense. He saw a woodworker who's trying to get experience in business. He's going to throw me a bone, give me some trim work. I don't want trim work. Didn't work out. Fair. So, but then luckily, what saved my year is my sister and her husband. They sent me a listing on, I don't know if it was Wayfair or Room and Board. Those are 2 very different things. They sent me a post. No, it was.
Can't help you here.
I know it doesn't really matter what it was, but they sent me a listing for a cabinet with the round top, and this is the steam bent cabinet for anybody that's been on my Instagram. So they said, "Hey, can you make this, but make it a little better? It's made of plywood. What kind of quality could you do, and what's the price comparison? We want the same." They say we want it to be basically this, but with different legs. So I was restrained in design, but a lot of the concepts of what I like, the build process was going to be way different. So I was still okay with it, because I don't want to be constrained in design and have the same old thing that I've done a million times, because then that's pure boredom. But I was constrained in design, but they were all different things that I hadn't done yet. The steam bending, the doors, the glass doors I hadn't done yet. So there's a lot of challenges even without coming up with my own design. So, and I don't know that I would have designed that because I would have doubted that I could have executed it all.
Oh, okay.
So looking back, there was good challenge in not even being allowed to pick a full design, because I wouldn't have brought myself that far down the road.
Sure.
Because I'd be like, I can't steam bend yet. I don't have the setup. Well, they want it, so I'm going to make the setup to steam bend. So that was good. So I spent the summer working on that, and the summers when I kind of struggled with shop hours. I was doing some other things too, some other little jobs that I can't even, like the little jobs just slip right through and you barely remember them, right? But
yeah,
the main theme in the summer was the steam bent cabinet that ended in about beginning of September. Excuse me. And it's the Diet Coke, I tell you.
Yeah.
But in September, I got into just posting about the steam bent cabinet, and then it was a lot of the podcast, and reflecting on the whole year where I started focusing on the commercial business, and then realizing that, hey, it's for me, it's about the residential business, and it's the single piece furniture, and I'm okay driving the design, but I'm okay if other people do as well, just knowing that. So then I've rooted in the fact that I want to have my designs that I make kind of in bulk, but not bulk, obviously, like in batches.
Yep.
But that are like original to me, but then I can still go out and make something custom for somebody that has specific needs outside of what I make over and over. And so now I'm just trying to balance all that out. And then I ended the year with a couple jobs that paid the bills, and then I was able to clear that business debt. So there's no longer any couple grand sitting on a card. Cleared out. So I'm in the black for the year. And so now we're looking fine. And now I've calmed down a lot. We've kind of gone over the fact that money is the biggest stressor.
Yeah.
So I was, this whole time when I'm taking all these jobs that I shouldn't, I'm just trying to get that business debt covered. And so now that it's gone, I'm going to only take jobs that I want to do. I'm in the middle of literally halfway through another tap handle job. But that's one of the reasons I don't have any debt right now. So can't be mad at it. And it got me a new tool, a lathe. So I was able to clear that one last year. And then now I just got to finish through building it all. And at the end of the year, I finally figured out that I hate painting. So we're done painting now, and just some other basic takeaways like that. But that's the general story arc of the year. I think that makes sense. I don't know that I left out many projects, but that's what I got for you.
Cool. Well, thanks for starting and setting the tone. You're a little bit more finessed at that. So my year was a lot different than that. I think so I've just got a list of firsts here. So I've had my business since 2019, and I went full-time in August of 2022. And so it was about a year after that, in August 2023, that we started this. But I went back today to kind of look at all the projects that I had done throughout the year, and was both like, I know that I only worked on 2 large projects. Like that was my entire year. So I did the 2 large gaming tables. And so, first gaming table. So my first project over 200 hours. And then shortly after that, my first project over 400 total hours. So that was pretty cool and wild, but we'll get into the emotional part of that on the back half of this podcast. This year is the first year I made a profit, so that's really awesome.
Congratulations.
I appreciate it. And then in addition to
first full year full time.
First year full time. Yeah. And
first year you made a profit. That's good.
Yeah. So and I've put a lot of money into this over the last 4 years. So it's awesome I'm not like positive from the beginning of my investment, but I'm getting pretty darn close. So that's really cool at the scale that I'm like hoping to be at. Let's see what else. It was the first time I got into major art shows this year, and I got into 2 of them. So and the ones I'm considering the large ones are the Stone Arch Bridge Festival and the Uptown Art Festival. Those both went okay, but it was cool to be there and just like starting to feel like, because going to shows all the time, I think I've talked about this on one of the other episodes, where I'm seeing some of the same people, and it's nice to like feel like be recognized when you're out places. And I've already had people that I'm forming relationships where we send customers to each other's booths, and that's just been really cool to like see that start to grow. And then let's see, it's also the first time I've veneered on a large piece of furniture. So I took my patterns that I like to do and did the first time big scale. And so that was on that first custom gaming table. And then, I tried so many new processes this year, so many new techniques and things. And so as I was going through my Instagram today, kind of looking back at all the projects, is like, oh, it's not a ton of projects, but there's so much that I had to learn this year. And just like, while it was my first time full time and still like managed to make money, and like it felt, the whole year felt hard and terrible and scary and all these things. But it's like, I'm so glad we're talking about this right now and actually like reflecting on the whole year of somebody who's we've been in contact for a bit of that too. And you can see exactly what I'm struggling with. And because I have to be accountable to you and talk about this, it's like, I'm a little bit ashamed to say this is the first time I've like written down my accomplishments in a job in a way where I'm like, yeah, that's awesome.
There we go.
Yeah. And so that's just totally new, cool feeling. And so a lot of firsts.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So 2 big projects, and it doesn't feel like a lot, right?
Yeah. Like it feels like I didn't do much, but
like I had 2, like for me, you're making 2 gaming tables. I made 2 cabinets.
Yeah.
Like the 2 stand-up cabinets.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's all I got.
Yeah. And then plus there's all the show stuff, but yeah, it's kind of,
Of course. Yeah.
it's different. That for me, that's like the batches and the bread and butter, but like each thing at the end of the day is like a couple hours. So I tend to not like count that in the terms of,
they're not real hours for you.
But once you add it all up, it's like, yeah, that's pretty significant.
Right.
But yeah, so it's just 2 projects. It's funny.
Yep. Is that okay?
That's a great question. I think yeah, it is okay. I'd like to do more. I definitely would, but just trying to be gentle with myself of last year and just like realize I went through a lot, grew a lot, and just a lot more happened than labor in the shop. And that's probably more important than anything that happened in the shop. So I am okay with it. I hope that's a trend that doesn't continue. How about you?
Yeah, I'm okay with what I got done this year. My biggest priority needs to be being a good husband.
Yeah.
And that's definitely the only thing that matters at the end of the day, because this isn't my full-time job. I need to do my job, support my family, be there. And so I didn't bring up shop hours in my yearly recap, but that was something that we've talked about, that now I've got kind of set shop hours, so I know what time I can have, what time I don't have, and that it's made me so much more free to like actually have fun other times when so I don't feel like I have to be in there. So then it's like I'll get done as much as I can. But yeah, I like what you said about, it was only 2 projects, but how much did you learn, right? So like that got me thinking. I've done stuff we talked about steam bending for a little bit, but like a lot of the shapes I even made I haven't done before, or big panels or gluing up big panels of thin material. I'd never done that. There's like all these little things. I'd never worked a lathe. I was just listening to episode 9 because I got to cut the clips, right?
Yeah.
For episode 9. And I was losing my shit about the lathe that day. Because I don't know if you remember, we're going to have a brief recap. That day I had just bought it 30 minutes before the episode. And I had just gotten back from Rockler, and they they gave me the "What do you think you know about this?" type look,
Yeah.
and I don't know anything about it. But then I was like, I guess I'll figure it out, or I'll have to go take a class. And I just turned 10 tap handles in an hour and a half or whatever last night, and I didn't think anything of it. I had my podcast on. I'm just turning like it. I didn't even know I'd have a lathe at the beginning of the year, and then now I'm doing it without thinking. So it's like
Yeah.
that drastic learning when you just have to
Yep.
is so cool. And it's like steam bending. I would do it so different if I did it again today, but I still did it and it still worked.
Right.
And it's a real piece, So it's like you get more skills than just the two pieces. And then it's just trajectory on the next ones. And then it's like everything that you went through this year, because those are two heavy projects, and
Mm-hmm.
you had a lot of roadblocks internally too that you
Mm-hmm.
had to move around, and you're still figuring out. That's gonna like excel you into the next year too,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
So
I
maybe you
feel
don't
that.
have 2 this year, but maybe you have 6 next year or 10 next year, right?
Right.
So
Yeah. So you're talking about new skills, at least in the wood shop. Can you name like the top 2 or 3 things that you were like the most satisfied with, like trying it for the first time?
honestly, running a wood lathe is not that hard.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty satisfied with that.
Cool.
Just due to the amount of fear that I had when I bought it, and it's
Yeah.
simple. Okay,
It's talked
so
about as if it's like this mystical different art, and
yeah.
there's art to it, absolutely, but yeah.
And then I think in a weird way, I was gonna say this podcast might be something,
Oh, sure.
because this is wild. What we're trying to do right now is pretty wild. That's not in the wood shop though. It's
We
hard.
can count it. I'll let that one slide in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just basic knowing how to, like, my treatment of process. So like order of operations is
Mm-hmm.
10 times better than it was.
Hmm.
Like on that Manhattan cabinet, the first cabinet I did this year, I was really thoughtful on like which surfaces need to be finished before I assemble them into the cabinet, because I'm not going to be able to get up in there anymore. And then like all that was really, I learned a lot. And I was overthinking it for a little bit, but then I realized no, that actually was right. That worked. So I should think about that a lot with my process,
Sure.
order of
Mm-hmm.
operations stuff.
Yep.
And then just slowing down, and the posting. We talked about that so many times, but that's because I was right in the middle of it where I just want to post. But by not posting a project, I was able to treat it right.
Mm.
And that's just that right. That holds true. So a lot of just like not as technical, not like, all right, box joints, or, like,
Yeah.
I'm not doing
Well,
the most
steam bending.
technical work in the world, but
Yeah.
I'm trying to do beautiful furniture, which can be simple too. So
Right.
yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So I was asking for like techniques in the shop, but I actually
No,
like the
not
way you
quite.
answered
No.
it better. Yeah. I think one my yeah, the thing I learned the most that is like pretty not a technical skill at all, I don't think, but um and it's only I don't feel like I learned it while I was doing it. It's only now looking back at the year, giving myself credit for how much I learned. And because especially that the Art Deco gaming table just had so many new skills. It's
Mhm.
CNC cut out the whole 5 leaves, big Art Deco diagram, and had to do so much inlay. That was like a brand new way that I've done inlay in terms of cutting them at angles, getting them all to fit together. There was electronics, like all this new stuff. But the thing that I learned was not those skills necessarily. The biggest impact was that I am an overthinker and I go to extents that I don't need to. I go way too deep in that. But I learned from successfully completing those 2 tables this year that, yeah, like I've got the order of operations right. Like like I have the design in my head, and I can easily translate that to a piece of paper or a CAD drawing, and I can easily translate that to what are the next steps that I need to do on my machines and set those up to make the right cuts. And like somehow when you're dealing with an entire project and like the customer is there and you're waiting to do it, you lose track of like, you just get granular and you already know how to do all the steps. So I just really learned to trust my process.
Yep.
Yeah. So I do a lot of evaluating the process. I haven't done a lot of trusting the process. And so I learned that this year. That was a big one.
You're accepting that you know stuff.
Yeah. And
like you're allowing yourself, oh, I actually know how to do that. It's going to work out.
Yeah.
And stuff's going to come up. They'll be tear out or they'll be whatever, or pieces won't match up the way you think they will, maybe. Or
yeah. And there's
a million things that can
workaround.
happen, but you know how to do it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I think part of the hard part for me with the question is I don't know what I learned because it feels like I know it all. This sounds bad. I've seen so much YouTube and so much. I've seen people do everything that I'm wanting to do this next year. Everything that I want to do this next year, I know how I'll do it roughly.
You just haven't done it yet.
I just haven't done it yet. So I don't feel like I'm learning how to do it. Because I'm like, oh, I got to do this and then that and then that. But I've never done that. So like, yeah, I'm like the steam bending. I learned that, but like it feels like I knew it the whole time in its own way because I saw somebody do it in a video and I was like, I'll just do it like that. I learned what not to do from their steps that didn't work for me. But technique wise, like I feel like I know all the techniques. I just haven't tried them yet. So then I haven't struggled through getting good at them.
Sure.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it does. It makes a lot of sense. I think, I'm trying to see how I relate to that. And I think I actually don't give myself credit for learning a thing until I've done it.
You're good at it.
That's maybe the more accurate thing, and I'm unaware of it.
Like I can know a lot of stuff and
yeah,
not be good at it, right? Like I've learned it.
yeah. Conceptually, you understand all the steps. It's just now
are you
physically
proficient yet? Are you doing it in your sleep?
Mm-hmm.
Like I've gotten good at the one thing I'm turning, the tap handles, but I haven't turned a platter yet. So I can't say like I've learned everything there is to learn about a lathe. I'm not even close. But the overall fear of how to use a lathe, that's gone. Like, so in general, I think I've learned how to use a lathe, like basic stuff. But I'm not proficient in it yet. I'm not out here turning fancy stuff, but
it'll come.
It will. I don't want to be the bowl guy though, so it'll only be legs and spindles and drawer pulls and all that kind of stuff. But
handles.
Yeah. A few more tap handles. I won't be doing those forever. But
I just mean like handles for furniture. Like now.
Yes, those that'll be key.
Key.
Another level.
But,
yeah, I mean, getting new tools is always the highlight too, right? So I got a drill press this year. I got an orbital sander, not an oscillating belt sander thing. A little cheesy, rigid one, but hey, it's nice to have. The lathe. I'm trying to think what else. I don't know. You got a whole new shop.
Got a whole new shop. Yeah, still working on getting that set up. Trying to think what new tools I got though. I think I got the saw stop the year before. I got the CNC this last year. So that was.
Oh, you did?
I did. Yeah. It was like I got it. I might have gotten it in 2022, but I wasn't really using it yet. And then let's see. Yeah, that was the main one. That was the big one.
Yeah.
The new shop's a whole different story, and that's
just a pile.
Once we turn on all those machines, I'll be happy to tell you guys the model number and all this stuff, so you can be a little jealous. Hopefully, not that reaction, but we'll see.
There you go. Oh, it's just so much potential. That's the jealousy I have. I like looking at something and seeing like potential, like blank notebooks or like rough wood. It's like that could turn into anything. And your shop is kind of like that, where it's like You can do a lot in there.
Yeah, it's hilarious to me how many times I've tried to calculate the cost that I'll save or like that'll go down for the year from increasing a jointer of 6 inches to now I have an 8-inch jointer, and just be like, wow, that's going to bring down the cost like so much in different ways because I like to do the reson veneers
Yep.
and like so that's a huge difference having that extra 2 inches. And yeah, now in this new place, we've got like a 16-inch joiner, and he's thinking about maybe getting a bigger one, but we'll see.
That's
So,
scary. I don't
yeah.
I don't want to use that. That'd be terrifying trying to run a 16-inch.
Yeah.
Well, and then you think like that will decrease the amount of time that you might need to do on the batched out products. So then you can dedicate more time to the art and the personal pieces and whatever. So you can still do that to support yourself.
Yeah.
You don't have to say no to that completely because you can get efficient. So
Right. It's directly addressing some of the things that were difficult for me this year. Like it really is in a way because I go to the extent with the patterns that I do. Like it's going to make such a big difference to have efficient machinery.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what was your highest point last year, 2023?
The highest point.
Highest point. I'm making you start there.
I think there was actually I know it. Exactly know it. I went to the St. Louis Park Art Fair. This is the second year that I've been to that one. Last year I got an award of excellence at the show, and it's a relatively new show. It hasn't been around for many years. It's been around for maybe 5, and they're really intentionally working on inviting higher quality artisans who just like take more time, and they're not like whipping out crafts. It's more, they're trying to make it feel more like an art fair, not a craft fair. And so I was really pumped last year to get it. And then in 2023, I got it again. And so
Twice.
I couldn't believe that I got it. And I just remember like kind of being beside myself at that show, and all the judges were nice. And like, they just like came up to talk to me and say, we can tell you're passionate. And like, it came at a time when I was actually down, right? Like I was pretty down during that time, but because they took the time to explain some of the reasons why they picked me and just like really meant it. And, I was making connections at that show. It just, that was for sure the high. I just felt really good. And then I'd say the next high is just right before the end of the year and just looking back finally and just being like, yeah, I did some cool stuff.
We made it.
How about you? What's the high?
My high would have been, I think it was when we videoed the steam bent cabinet that day.
Okay. Yeah.
Cause that thing looked nice. Or like the whole, we had it in our living room or dining room for like 4 days, I think, like before we videoed it and then delivered it. So it was probably a week even. And like just walking, it was actually in like a perfect spot. My wife's like, I want one. It's like, stop. You can't say that. Don't say that to me right now. I just spent 2 months on that thing. Leave me alone. But walking down the stairs, you'd have to see my house to know, but there's like from the entryway, there's like a cut through and you can see the dining room. And it's like, I could just like, it would just be there chilling. And the sun would be hitting it. And it's like, oh, look at that thing. It's real. It's not fake. Like it's not a dream. And it's not. And then it's just like, I love when I model something and I get the exact angle that I know I'm going to take a picture of it in. And I take a picture of it later, and then like side by side, you're like, that's exactly what it is. It looks like that. And so watching that one come to life and just looking at it, and we didn't even have it that long, and I wasn't home much, but just like it catching me off guard, that 1 week was so nice.
That's awesome.
And
yeah,
that was probably the best, because that's the best piece I've made. It's full size, and it has multiple woods. It's got the glass, it's got the brass. The drawer match, like the grain match on the drawers, and just the detail I tried to put into it feels good. So
very, very intentional piece. Yeah. And you can tell by looking at it. Yeah.
I'm trying to be subtle with it too, because their house has got all kinds of stuff in it. lots of furniture. So they didn't want anything poppy, right? So had to be subtle, but yeah, just seeing that piece for a week or so was probably riding the highest this year.
That's good.
So what about your neutral time? What is your neutral time of the year? What is like the mediocre meh? What does that feel like for Brian in 2023?
Yeah, that's a. If you have an answer for this, if you have an answer for the question, go ahead.
Okay,
I gotta think about
I'm
mine.
sure I can come up with something here. So my neutral has just been trying to get these jobs that I don't want to do that are getting me money. So I'll be in the shop not happy I'm working on that, but happy I'm working on something. And so that's been the neutral. Just the built-in I did recently, a month or two ago. I'm glad I got the job. It was a nice job to have. It really helped me out, helped the business out. But I wasn't happy to be working on that. I was just doing the work. That's fine, using my hours. I wasn't mad about it. That's how it goes. I was mad about some painting because it's my own fault. You know, you just get upset with yourself for how you quote things sometimes. And that was at the beginning of the year too, with some of the brewery jobs. It's like, well, this one's not the best. It's not exactly what I want to be doing, but that's kind of the neutral. And I think I'll jump back and add to buy you a little bit more time just in case. The other high point I had was the big brewery merchandise display area that I did for Wooden Ship up in St. Louis Park. That was fun, not on install day because we were down to the wire. I've told that story already. But coming back like a month later, and then a couple months after that, and I went like a month ago. So like seeing it throughout the year a few times because I don't go there often. Like just walking in and being like, I know that very well. I know like every little inch of that thing, and it's just been sitting there the whole time, holding some furniture or some merch, and the water dispenser and everything. So like seeing that, I don't know, it's seeing the pieces that give me that little rush.
Yeah.
So imagine if you were to go play a game night on your table.
Right.
When you do that, that's that feeling. So
Sure.
those are my two high points, and my midpoint is the jobs that pay, but I'm not happy to be doing. What about you?
Yeah, my neutral is more of just like a feeling throughout the year where how are you familiar with the feeling in your body that you get when you realize how much you don't know about a thing?
Yeah, I get hot.
Yeah.
I start like sweating.
I'd say the way I feel neutral tied to that is more of like a bittersweetness. I think I really slowed down this year. It's like in a big part, like thanks to you too. Just like let's put this into perspective. Like that's what we're doing on a weekly basis, and that just helps so much. But I've been in slowing down. I've been able to kind of like really visualize in more detail and like from a place of want and desire, like what the future is going to hold, and I feel like I can get there. And like there's the really positive feeling of seeing those possibilities, but there's also the bittersweetness of like I'm shadow work's a big term right now that's buzzing around on social media, and like I've really been getting into that for myself. And like
I'm sorry, what? I don't actually know what that is.
shadow work. Okay.
So never mind, I'm not going to guess.
It's like a therapy kind of language term where it's the parts of ourself that we deny or don't like, and instead of accepting it, we either repress it or distract ourselves from it or work around it and project those behaviors onto other people, right? Without knowing that we actually did something to harm somebody, right? So like just to throw in some color, like it can be really little too. Like I'm somebody who likes to talk about my emotions, right? And so growing up, I naturally found girls in my life who were would be open to having, feelings conversations, and that has never happened with my guy friends.
Right.
And so like I know that talking to a girl about that at that age was like safe, as long as we've like developed trust, and like I trusted that they saw who I was and wasn't gonna, judge me or whatever. But if another guy were to come talk to me and say, completely same scenario from the woman to the man, it's going to take me longer to build enough trust to talk about my emotions openly to that guy, right? Like,
Okay.
so that's just like a bias that happens. And so shadow work is like digging into your biases and like being aware of them and being able to compensate to a degree that's appropriate, right, in the world, and
Mm-hmm.
like see the things that you're blind to and be able to be aware that you might be doing something that you wouldn't be proud of because it's a part of yourself that you've kind of just repressed or like locked away or you don't like. So that's
Okay.
a
So
long
I
story.
just want to summarize so I can make sure I'm understanding. It's basically just being introspective to the parts that you view as negative of your basic operating system that might be in the background sometimes, but also comes out. And then by understanding those, by being introspective to those things, you can try to mitigate them and not have them influence as much or have a negative effect on you in the day-to-day world.
Yeah, and like
Okay.
if you've heard people talk about like you've really learned how to like use your dark side for good, like
Hmm.
that's somebody who's done the shadow work, right?
Okay.
Like, yeah, it's a place. It is a place of empowerment too. And so I forgot how I got here. Can you remind me how? Oh, the bittersweetness of the year.
Yep.
So like that's been a big part of my year, is just kind of like getting into those parts that have been invisible to myself, right? And so as I've been going through therapy and doing this with you and chasing my own dream of this business, it's it's kind of forced me to learn a lot of stuff that I didn't know I needed to learn. And so like it's also adding, because I'm gathering information from a lot of these different places and like real experiences right now, it's kind of added a much bigger perspective to my life where um, I don't know if this is going to sound like conceited or something, and I'm worried that it might, but like if you know the feeling of like I was in a small pond and I got to be the biggest fish and now I'm moving to the next pond, right? The next size pond.
Mm-hmm.
I feel as though I'm jumping into the next bigger pond, but it was very, very quickly that I was able to see the scope of that pond. And like I know there's a bunch I don't know, but like from a perspective point, I see how much there is to learn. Like I can kind of like intuit how much is there for me, and it's a lot. But I'm excited, but it's a lot. And like the goals that I had, like personal goals, are now a little bit further away than I thought they were going to be. And so
Sure.
that continues to kind of keep happening, which is fine, and I'm getting used to accepting that. And because yeah, it's mixed with pride of like I'm doing it now. Like if I would continue to wait, that keeps stretching out. So like I'm
Right.
maximizing the good by doing what I'm doing, but it's hard and it takes
Mm-hmm.
a lot. So yeah, that's probably my neutral for the year.
Yeah. Just humming along,
Yeah.
realizing that there's that much to learn, and then getting almost overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
And by looking for stuff to learn, you're also finding more and more and more, and then you feel like it's stretching away. But
Yeah.
by challenging yourself to learn all that, you're also realizing your potential, and then you get excited about it too. So
Yeah.
there's that bittersweet. You're excited, but you're overwhelmed, and it's a
Yep.
lot.
And just learning that the future, no matter how much we try to predict or anticipate, it's going to be different, right? And just
Right.
um, the pool of all that knowledge too that kind of feels like got forced into me this last year is also helping me accept that more. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, the only thing we can do is the best we can do, and just knowing what that feels like for the first time and like actually like owning it at the age of 31 feels weird, but it
Hmm.
like I'm still getting used to it. It feels like I'm catching up, but I know I'm not. It's just a different.
You're not behind.
Yeah.
I've heard you say it in a different way multiple times where you're like, well, I'm 31 and I'm figuring this out. You're
I
not
know.
behind.
I know.
You're right where you need to be. You're good.
But it
So when you're
feels like that.
no, but
Yeah.
you need to know you're not behind. And
I know.
when you're in that big pond, know that you're in there. I'm gonna keep going with this analogy
Yeah.
because of the success in the small pond, right? So you can be grateful that you're making that jump. It's a lot, but
Mhm.
you're on the path. So
Right. Yeah. Continued growth, and yeah, it's all good. But I'm learning to accept the difficult with the good.
mm,
Because I had a very long season of life of just inaction, right? And now that got comfortable.
sure. Yeah. And then now you're kind of got to grind and then it's a little less comfortable.
Hmm.
But then depending on if it's your goal, discomfort can be kind of romantic sometimes. It can kind of be like, oh, we're grinding this out. This sucks, but I love it. Like this is it.
Yeah.
And I ride on that a lot where it's like,
Hmm.
give me the suck for a little while because I've seen what it can kind of do and I'm consistent. And if I just keep going, we're gonna get places. So
Right.
it's the one thing I think I'm never gonna give up is consistency. I just refuse because it's worked out for me so far,
Yeah.
and it's like the one thing I've been like good at is
Yeah.
consistency. So
Want to validate. It seems like you're very good at that.
I mean, I eat pizza every Monday. I don't know if you know that about me.
That's right. Yeah, I remember that.
But
Yeah.
for those of you who don't know, I've eaten pizza every Monday for over 10 years. I started in high school. I said, hey, let's see if I can keep it going. And it's kind of a joke, but it's also a way of life, and I love it.
Pizza.
So I'm a streak guy. It's like if I can keep it going, if we can record this podcast every Tuesday for a year, I am
Hmm.
in because that's a streak. Now stuff comes up, so if it does, whatever.
Yeah.
Like this is a big thing. It requires two people. But like
Hmm.
eating pizza, that's just not me. I just got to go find it. Like whatever. So there are other examples of consistency too. That's not my only one, but no, that was a great answer for your midpoint.
Hmm.
Now I'm gonna ask the one that I've been keeping you on your toes for this whole time in the
Yeah.
audience. What was your low point of 2023?
Oh, I thought you were gonna ask a out of the left field funny joke question.
No, I'm going right for it now.
Yeah. Um, I think kind of already jumped into it a little bit with the shadow work. Yeah, the low point though was definitely working on the second gaming table, which was a period of 8 months, so it was a long time,
Mhm.
maybe 7. But um, the reason it was low, and it was a pretty like continuous low, after I've reflected and gone through a lot of other work and learning, um, is just like I want to talk about like hopelessness. Like it's I don't know how many people experience that. I think it seems to me, I observe in the world that it seems like there's a lot, especially for like, I can't say especially, but I do know for like millennials and younger, like it seems like there's you know a big need of integrating our emotional selves with our professional selves, and with just like a self-awareness that isn't doesn't seem to always be there. And um the low for me was having been through like 4 years of therapy already. Like I'm going on year 5 right now. And um the as I'm learning to re-experience old parts of myself that I abandoned, and also just like feelings again, and focusing on where they're coming from, what's bringing it up, what kind of things trigger me that I wasn't aware of, like what dynamics in my marriage, like are we feeding that energy back and forth to each other and escalating, and like that's going to happen with any close relationship that you're together for a prolonged period of time because we're just all different, right? And learning how to manage that and talk about it, like talk about it in a constructive way, was never modeled for me growing up. And
Mm-hmm.
so the low was having gone through 4 years of therapy, feeling like, oh, right, I'm starting to understand a lot of what's going on. And then just like feeling big steps back, like, okay, like I'm finally getting a hold of everything. And then bam, big giant step back because this table just brought me into all my triggers. And like, I see now how I orchestrated that. Like, if I go back and look at my actions, I engineered, I,
You built the
I,
mountain.
I engineered a way for me to hit them all at the same time. And like, that's great for me.
That's efficient.
I wish I was aware. Yeah, it's super efficient. I'm obsessed with productivity, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, like hopelessness, what that felt like for me, like if I could try to sum it up, and I feel like it's a really important thing to try to sum up in practical terms because it's a thing that as I was feeling it for years and years and years, didn't know that's really what it was and what was the cause and like how to get through it. Right. So I just felt numb all of the time. And so that like big giant events happen in my life that, I should have been ecstatic and I was barely there. And it not like in an unconscious, like a totally unconscious way, is just like I didn't care about much because the world had kind of taught me that the things that I valued, people wouldn't value in me. Right. Like that was it's not real. Like that's not fact, but that was the messaging I was receiving
Yeah.
and how I was internalizing it. And so hopelessness just felt like numb, just kind of, I'm not sad enough to want to do anything drastic, like end it, but like I'm not, I don't see the point. Like I don't see how caring about anything is going to get me to a place where I don't feel like this. And so um the antidote, I think, like summed up to that, is just to try a lot of different new things that are just like outside of what you ever pictured for yourself. Like it has to be something, like for me, it had to be something ridiculous, like quitting a job without having anything lined up level, like for me, because I let it fester for so long that it was the catalyst to like wake me up a little bit and like stop to look around and like see what I care about, like take a breath. And if you find that you don't care about much, and if you're experiencing hopelessness, like question trauma, like in the past, like what, like don't put what that is in a box, like explore it for yourself, because we all experience it in a way or another, whether it's a big event or tiny messages over time that we internalize. And like if you are hopeless and don't care about much and don't know how or what to care about, I think it's important to like question your sense of self even, and like who do you know if you have a sense of self? And that's the thing I realized is I didn't really ever develop a sense of self because I was so externally motivated. And so that's why I'm so happy about 2023 is like I'm figuring out, like I'm developing self, and like that's huge. Like it's everything. It's everything. And so that's why I could not turn down this ridiculous offer that somebody asked me if I wanted to do a podcast with them, because I knew how much growth there was going to be there. And yeah, it's just helping keep pushing me along. So that's a lot. That's all I've got to say about that right now. But it's a message. Reach out to me if you're somebody who's experiencing hopelessness. Like I am hyper self-aware, and I paid attention to every single feeling I had, and it's a lot, and it's hard to find people who talk about it and hold it true that it might be happening to you if they've never experienced it. Like, you gotta find people who can do that to be able to work through it. And that's a big challenge too.
Yeah.
So
That was good.
it's a lot.
That's a lot. It sounds like a low moment, though.
Yeah.
Low burn of moment. It was a long stretch.
And it needed to happen. And I needed the business the way that it was. Like, I need, like, all of the things happened exactly the way they needed to. And it takes facing that to get to the other side where you can look back and say, yep, that makes sense.
Yep.
So just keep going.
So you're building that sense of self too in it. And that's where you're getting the root of hope too, because then you have a foundation to kind of, who are you? And then
right,
you can go take that and bring it out in the world and have fun with it.
Yeah.
Instead of not caring.
Right. Yeah. There's a long time in my life that I felt ashamed that there wasn't like a thing that I was like, I'd put my life on the line for this. I'd stand up for this. And I felt like shame that there was nothing that I could say that about. And like, that should have been a clear sign to me, but it wasn't. And now it's like, that's like exactly why it's just like I'm starting to develop that, and it's lighting the fire back up inside of me. Like,
that's awesome.
It's just
so cool to hear.
It's unreal.
Sweet. That's I mean, that's a big pivot right there. I mean, that's the pilot light that's gonna light the whole fire, right? So
yeah, my life feels like it's changing, like in enormous ways, and the validation is there. Like, it's enough for me to just sit back, look, and say, yeah, I'm putting the work in and it's working. But
what's cool though is I can hear that you're like, I'm not done yet. Like, it's not good enough yet. I'm gonna keep going and keep building, and that's like everything.
Yeah.
Because that's what's gonna keep you moving. That's the hope right there, that it's not over. It's not permanent hopelessness. So
right.
That's really, really cool.
Yeah, appreciate it. What about you?
My lowest point of 2023. I feel like I could go multiple ways. I really struggled with my hours, and we've talked about it, but I don't think that's my lowest moment, because at the end of the day, I just pivoted why I'm doing it. It was more selfish before, and now, because those hours were like, I need to get in there for me, and now it's like, it's more for my life and my family. And that's what I want it to be about, is my family. So that's cool, but it wasn't my lowest moment. It's just really helped me actually enjoy life outside of the shop. I don't have to be in there every single minute, so I can go have fun with people that I care about.
Yeah.
And not feel like I need to be constantly working.
Sure.
And I kind of I learned why I need to be constantly working. Just because I feel like I'm on borrowed time. Like, I gotta get there before I die, right?
Yeah.
So, and there's a whole backstory on that too. But I think my actual lowest moment was this freaking cabinet.
How so? Well, first of all, I want to jump in and say, you said the hours thing wasn't really your biggest low, but like, one thing I'm learning about you is that you're very, very good and quick at noticing when the structure of something isn't going the way that it needs to for you to feel good. And you're very good at seeing that sign and then just pivoting. And so you even did it in how you explained, like, the hours wasn't a big deal, but I realized what was more important. And it's like, no, that was a big deal. And that's why you made this really, really important change. And so I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah. It was important. Like, it was like important, but it wasn't my lowest point.
Because you didn't dwell there.
I didn't dwell there. Well, for a long time, I was kind of like really trying to get them. So I was like stuck.
Yeah.
Right. The time before I got my hours, or just the conversation about hours, went well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was trying to have the conversation about hours, And like, what's reasonable here? I don't know what's reasonable. I'd be in there 80 hours a week because I was sick back then, trying to just die in the shop because I wanted it so bad. But it's like, it's not going to work if I do that.
Right.
I need to calm down.
You saw
So
unsustainability. Like, yeah, you
yeah,
did
but it
so
was
well.
working out for a minute and it was fun. But so that's why it wasn't my lowest moment, is because it was working, but I knew it was unsustainable. And it was like, we got to fix this before like I mess something up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it wasn't my lowest moment. My lowest moment
Cabinet
is the Manhattan cabinet that I love. Like, I love it, but I hate it. Never said I hate it because I couldn't sell the thing. And the amount of people that told me that's a beautiful cabinet, I love that cabinet. That is so nice. What a nice piece. Buy it. I don't, I know it's a specific niche. I know it's this, that, and the other thing. But like, I just wanted to make something that nobody ordered because I was sick of doing the build to order for commercial stuff for the breweries. Like, I just wanted to make something. I wanted to try something out, and I did. It was great. Loved it. Love walnut. Happy Matt in the shop. But it didn't go. And it's like, why is this thing not going? And I'm trying to market it to different people. I'm still stuck on it. I still have some brochures that I'm still going to mail out because I have them. And it's like, it's like rejection.
Yeah.
I haven't had to date anybody ever. I met my wife junior year of high school. Nabbed her real quick. Been dating. Never broke up. I never thought of breaking up with her. She said she never thought of breaking up with me. Like, right before we went to long distance, it was like, should we do this? Yeah. Okay. And then like, as soon as it was like, we're going to get married then because I'm not doing long distance unless we're getting married. It was so easy because she's the best. Okay.
Amazing.
So I haven't had like emotional rejection from something like that I put effort into. I've had emotional rejection through like friends or like internal rejection of like, I think I'm this person, go try that out. And then, no, I'm not that person, little stuff. But like, this is something that I poured time into. It's a design that I want to do right. And I'm trying to like, it's just a prototype. I get it. But like, I can't move it. And so then I got so focused on sales and how do I sell this thing? And and I still think that if I sold it right and if it was different, then if I could show it to people correctly. But that's also what's in my head of like, no, maybe it's just not that good of a design. So it's like a self-doubt and rejection circle.
Yeah.
And that's
a
my
big
lowest
deal.
point. So then I sold it and I'm telling myself I feel good that I sold it, but I sold it to a coworker who's using it well. He's got that thing stocked to the brim with whiskey. Love it. I'm so glad he has it. I am happy about that part. And yes, it's a prototype, so it's really not perfect. There are some things that I would tweak, but he can handle it. And he bought it for materials only. Like, I might have lost a little bit of money, like maybe $100. I don't really know. I tried not to look actually, because I'm just trying to like break back even. Let's clear the slate, call it a day. But that thing sitting in the house was like a little minion in the corner mocking me. You can't sell me. And that little fucker was just sitting there. And that's my lowest point, because it was just like, I like it. That's the worst part. It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
And there's just a lot. It's just failure. It is failure.
I think you should be maybe a lot nicer to yourself.
So then I look on my Instagram. Okay. And I did 2 projects this year, right? One, I love the outcome. I learned a lot. It was for friends and family. Great. I'll get to see it again. Cool. Positive. The other one is the one we're talking about, the Manhattan cabinet. It's total failure and I'm a loser. But I know I'm not, because I learned a lot and I got to show and but it's like, it's like when you look at the 2 gaming tables you made, one gave you 20% growth, and the other gave you 80% growth. Probably, I'm just throwing numbers out places.
Sure.
When you look at them, you're probably like, "Oh, that's the first one. Nice, love it." And you look at the second one, you go, "Oh, you," and you look at that thing, and you're like, "I love you, but screw you, man." Like,
Yeah.
that's probably the root feeling in you. Like, the video gets you excited probably when you see it. You're like, "Oh, that looks nice. I did that work." But then you're also like, oh.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that cabinet for me.
Sure.
But you got to sell yours, and I had to tuck my tail between my legs and walk away and just break even.
Yeah.
And I'm still stuck with do I keep trying to move this thing or adjust it? Or so that's where it is. It's this self-doubt and the rejection circle. Everyone
Yeah.
rejected that cabinet,
Yeah.
which is what happened. That's voice of customer.
Yeah. I appreciate you explaining your relationship with rejection, because it actually makes that a bigger deal, that the cabinet that,
Mhm.
yeah, I can imagine it'd be very upsetting.
It's
If
like
that,
a girlfriend. She
yeah.
dumped me. And
Yeah.
no one, like, I got a girlfriend and I paraded her around and no one liked her. It's basically what it was. Like, the cabinet that's what that was for me. I don't know. These are all silly metaphors or whatever, but
Yeah. I did also note that, yeah, you said your high was a cabinet being in your house, and a low was a cabinet being in your house.
that's true.
And it's
They're
awesome. It
two sides of a
shows
coin.
humanity right there in a snapshot, and that's
Yeah.
great.
I'm so glad you told me that because I had missed it. So thanks a lot. It's painful, but
Yeah, it
yeah.
is what it is. We're getting through it, and we're supporting each
Mhm.
other, and it's a lot. It's good
Yep.
stuff.
Would you change anything?
About 2023,
Yeah.
man, if you asked me that anytime during that second table, I would have said yes. Right now,
Or any of the early podcasts, you would have said yes.
yeah, I would have. Yep.
You were still in the ending of it.
Yep. At this point, no, I wouldn't change it. Yep.
So we're gonna pause right there, and I'm gonna tell you that if you are in a position this year of that second table, you're gonna remember the words you just said that you wouldn't change it, and
Yep.
you're gonna say, "This is it." That means I'm in it, and
Yep.
that's gonna carry you all the way through. What you just said right there, you wouldn't change it. That's
Yep.
wild.
Better
That's
clip this out right now, and
clip
save it in my phone so I
grandmother.
can
Awesome.
look at myself. Appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, because like you're gonna find yourself there again, 100%.
Oh yeah,
I'm gonna find
absolutely.
myself when nobody wants to buy anything I ever make again,
Yep. It's
and I would
it'll
change it.
happen before March for me. I'm working with my hardest client, which is myself and my wife, to furnish my living room. So
There you go.
I'll get to
You'll get there.
some depth during that project.
Yeah. At the end of the day, you wouldn't change it though, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Same for you.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
if I would have sold the cabinet for full price, I mean,
I think
no, I
you
haven't hit the full resolution of learning on that one. I don't think.
sure.
Right?
Yeah.
It's still because I don't know what to do with this cabinet still.
My
So
it's
I
like
think
I like how you compared it to a girlfriend, and it's kind of like, yeah, it's the girlfriend that left you, and she was the one.
well, the worst part is like I like her still. I like her. And it's not even she doesn't like me.
Uh-huh. Just can't be
She
together.
just nobody likes her. That's the problem. That's the problem. If one person liked her, oh, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Oh
But
man.
no,
So,
I'll probably end up saying, yeah, I wouldn't change anything, right? Because it
mhm.
got me where I am today. But right now, it's like I just don't know what to do that cabinet, so I haven't hit that conclusion yet. But overall, on the year, no, I'm satisfied with what happened, and I'm ready to
Mhm.
jump into the next one, calm, cool, and collected.
Yeah. I hope that for both of us.
Yeah, me too. Any major goals you want to set up for if we have another reflection for 2024?
Mm.
Anything you want to forget that you said?
That's another good one. I want to set goals, but I do also feel like I want to take time to think about it. But I'll say some things. I would like to. I mean, I want to furnish my house. I want to have I want to do one collection of furniture
Awesome.
this year where it's like this is just it's a collection, little pieces that are similar, but can set up a whole room. That's one goal. And then actually, outside of woodworking, I have a new goal, which I may as well tell you here. One of the things that you've helped me learn here in this podcast is growing this in me and developing my sense of self. And I signed up for a, a college class for coaching and like a life coaching type thing. It's a weed class to see who actually likes this and whatnot. And um, I'm excited about that. I'm excited to see where that might go. And I don't want to life coach somebody as much as I just want to like get into conversation with people and figure out what are their blind spots with them and like figure out it's kind of like therapy without the therapy degree, but also like I'm just a resource to talk about feelings and like are there areas of people that aren't getting that who can also maybe like tie that to here's a goal that feels too big for me to accomplish to help breathe some life into that and help empower other people. So that's a new thing that I'm just going to explore and see where it goes. So that's a goal for 2024 is just see if there's my soul just wants me to keep digging that direction. And so that's a big thing that I didn't expect.
New stuff comes every day, and then you just gotta ride with it, I guess. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Cool. I got some goals. So 2023, one of my statistics was no injuries.
Was no injuries? Okay.
No injuries, and that's a goal for 2024. No injuries, please. And then my main goal is I would like to build furniture. Just going back to the real thing here. And just build furniture and get the real 5-year plan in place to do this slow and do it right. And because I was rushing, I was really rushing there for a minute, and I scared myself with how much I was rushing.
Really? Okay.
So yeah, like I was about to just abandon ship, but like I'm comfortable and like I can. We've kind of talked about it, but I can use the situation I'm in and optimize the side hustle, knowing that that's what I want to do someday, but not the someday that doesn't happen, the someday that is going to happen.
Yeah.
There's not a doubt it's happening, but how can I do it effectively to where I don't put us in a tight spot and I can learn a lot before I have to learn a lot. But then so I'm just going to try to optimize the current situation. And 2 months ago, I would have said my goal for 2024 is to get out of engineering and do full-time just because I love it so much. I love it. I love it. I love it. Furniture making is great. That's me. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
But now I don't want to leave engineering in 2024. I want to use my job, and I can still learn. There's so many weird things you can learn in the corporate world that I could apply to my own business too.
Yeah.
Like I've only done 3 years there. It's like, let's pick up on a couple more things, get a little more financially stable, and take down the roadblocks to that jump.
Yeah.
Just so I'm not stretching myself thin and taking those jobs that make me hate it. So I'm going to build furniture and slowly take down some roadblocks for making the jump.
It's great.
So I wish I could say for the podcast, guys, I'm jumping in 2024, but I'm not. I'm gonna try to be a little more methodical with it for now.
Yeah. Yeah. So. That's perfect.
Perfect. Lock it in.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to, if you got other goals, I'd like to hear them.
But no, that's it.
I'd like to end with a challenge to people, right? Okay. For 2024, I think that is try to see if you can find something in 2024 that you can, like a long-term project that you can build something with somebody. And so I'm going to use the example of this podcast and just like, it's really intangible right now how many doors and opportunities that are new to me that have like just the imaginings of them like blossoming in my brain of like, this is something I hadn't considered and it's possible. Like it challenge you to build something with somebody, a long-term project, and just see how that goes.
Yeah, it's a great challenge. That's a great challenge. And sadly, people won't see this one until like March. But hey, 2024, get rolling. Everybody get to work.
Yeah.
But that's a great idea. It's a good way to say it too. So I think that was a good reflection. Is there anything else you want to add, or
that's it?
Call it here and
cheers to 2024.
Let's get rolling on it. And hopefully February will come soon so I can get some whiskey in my glass again.
Great.
I'll see you next week, Brian.
Yeah, take it easy. Have a good one.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in this week. We'd be having these conversations with or without you because we get a lot of value out of this and we learn and grow together, but we're glad that you're here as well.
Yes, please let us know what you think of the podcast by leaving a review or a rating, but also comment or share with your friends in the woodworking or small business community. I'm Matt from Whiskey Woodshop.
And I'm Brian of Boss Man's Boutique.
Thanks for
listening.